Anthony Yount. We are live.
Hey, Jesse. Good to see you again.
Good to see you, my friend. First things first, beautiful buggy back there. Absolutely
Well,
beautiful.
just old Ultra 4 junk. That's what I'm telling everybody anyway.
So, what have you been doing? Because the last thing that I heard is you were in retirement.
So that was not necessarily retirement. Take a year or two off.
Okay.
And that went well until you kept bugging me during Hammers Week.
That's
And
right. I sure did.
that I don't know, got the itch going again. Missing Hammers was the first year in a long time we haven't been to Hammers.
Mm-hmm.
And sitting at home watching it, I mean, it was really getting to me.
Yeah.
So it didn't help you were bugging me in the background at the same time.
Yeah. And so, for those who don't know, what was I bugging you about? Go ahead and let everybody know.
Oh, you got my RS1 there, and you had it for a while, but you were wanting to go to a 2-seat to share the experience, and
Yep.
so
Yeah.
you were trying to get rid of it. And I wasn't really wanting it back, but I think it'd be cool to
Yeah.
maybe potentially be the first one to finish King of Hammer single seat side by side. So that's what we're going to try next year.
Well, that's exciting, and that we jumped on down the interview there, but let's start at King of Hammers before we get into the new car and your 2021 plans, all that kind of fun stuff. What did you think of King of Hammers? It was different this year. It was a little controversial. I feel like a lot of people had some strong opinions.
Well, I don't know. It kind of varies year to year.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, it seems to be a little tougher than what they allowed this year.
Mm-hmm.
Letting every bypass open's new.
Mm-hmm.
We've always had some form of VCP or something that you have to hit.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. Some people say it favored the Can-Am. Some say it didn't. Either way, if everybody's racing the same thing, it's still the race.
Yeah,
So
yeah, agree.
that's the way I look at it.
What do you think about the UTV in the 4400 class?
He's got bigger balls than me.
That's fact. That's true for me. I'll say it like that. What?
No, they're both them brothers are top class drivers, and their cars are a little built. I won't say they're 4400 built, but hey, if they want to go for it, go for it. Dave Cole actually asked me to that gray buggy I had, that gray chassis. We were at Dirty Turtle. He asked me to enter the 4400 class, and I said hell no. And I actually qualified the 4400 class just to qualify it. I don't know, 13th, 14th, not very good, but Dave was even going to pay my entry fee if I just run against the 4400 cars, and I didn't want no part of it, especially in the tight.
That's awesome. Well, let me ask you this: one of the kind of undercover highlights of the entire King of Hammers last year was the Intimidator UTV vehicle that was out there. It kind of flew under the radar. Mad Ram did a little video about it. I'm not sure how much traction actually came out about it. But that Intimidator UTV, it's a IFS full width axle in the rear. Do you know much about that car? Is there anything more you can tell us about it?
I know quite a bit about it. I don't know where it's actually going to go from here. I think they're having some separation between builder and company, and there's a lot of stuff going on in the background. But I wouldn't really call it a UTV. I wouldn't really call it a 4400.
Yeah.
It's kind of like this thing behind me. It's kind of a freak show. There's not anything else like it. Pretty cool car. Really, really, really cool car.
Do you think does it lean more towards one or the other?
Well, I mean, it's got a 6-cylinder, so it's right in the middle.
That's true.
But I would say, honestly, it's more of a overgrown UTV than a full size, if I had to pick.
Now, I know you said that the future is kind of a little up in the air right now, but do you see, to me, I see that as the future of racing. I think the UTVs are getting bigger, they're getting faster, they're getting tougher. And now with Cody Miller being able to do the UTV 4400 and finishing the race, I personally think that we will see the 4400 class, the actual size of the car, kind of come down just a little bit. They're already, thinning out chassis, thinning out weight everywhere they can. I think the next step is something like the Intimidator UTV car, where they just reduce the overall size of it. What are your thoughts?
Hey, we're starting to see that in the bouncer world. Larry Krug don't live too far. His bouncer's small, lightweight. It requires less power because it's not as much weight you got to move around. So it's kind of the same thing in Ultra 4. I mean, you got a lighter car, you don't need all that horsepower.
That's true. That's true. And less weight translates to less weight for breakage and everything else, and all that. It all goes into it. So I don't know. I'm curious. I'm very, very curious about that particular vehicle and the future of that. It's a shame to hear that there's a little bit of discrepancy on the business side of things, but I hope that gets worked out for everybody involved, and hope it's smooth. But
I know that there'll be something very similar to that.
Mhm.
Coming out of the same builder. It's not my place to say anything, but
Sure.
it's going to be like 2.0. It's going to be even better.
Nice. I've spoken with the builder a couple times, and it's kind of been one of those. I'm not, we can't go public with information yet, but I agree with you. Whatever comes next is going to be amazing. And for those who don't know what we're referencing, Intimidator UTV on Facebook, and you'll get a good idea of kind of the model that was at King of Hammers this year. It's a great place to go find out more information if you're really feeling curious. But epicenter of the show, No Respect Racing is back in Wishful Thinking, but Wishful Thinking looks quite different. Tell me, last year versus this year, what did you change in the off season? Because it looks like a brand new car.
Okay. Well, so initially we were going to take a year off. I put this up for sale. That didn't pan out, and especially with all the stuff that's going on now.
Right.
So we had a bunch of hunting trips planned. That was the plan for this year. Go hunting, get back to life before racing.
Mm-hmm.
Take a breather, rebuild something new, and come back in a bouncer.
Mm-hmm.
So selling that didn't pan out. So I kind of set a date, like sometime around the end of March. If it's not gone by the end of March, I'm building a whole new chassis and robbing the parts.
Yeah.
So I bounced the idea of what I wanted to do off quite a few people. The Intimidator builder being one of them.
Mm-hmm.
The designer, I guess. And then I called Phil, Shock Jesus, and kind of ran some ideas by him. And he's like, man, what you got works. We just need to tweak it. So talked to him, talked to Stan over at Brannick about doing some changes. And they say, we can make it work. Just try it this way. And if you don't like it, then we can start over from scratch.
Okay.
So, I mean, the major thing was the front sway bar, which I had no idea the car really needed, but it's called Wishful Thinking for a couple of reasons. It's got wishbones in the front and the rear. Are you still there?
Yeah. Oh. Yep. I'm here. I just pulled up a picture of, I got the picture of the car up.
Yeah. So it's got wishbone upper links, which is not very common. Mm-hmm. And then when I bought it, I knew I was kind of getting in over my head trying to race 4,400 on my budget. So we kind of named the car Wishful Thinking. Peter Basler, he didn't really name cars. So it was the single seat car. That's what it was called.
Yeah.
And so we named it Wishful Thinking. And it's not something you see. So there's not a lot of test time on it anywhere. I mean, It just doesn't exist. It's a freak. Mm-hmm. But Phil, Shock Jesus, you've had him on the show, Liberty Mountain Fab. He seemed to think if we put a front sway bar on it and then loosen the rear sway bar up, it would totally change the car. Mm-hmm. Which he's had his hands on the shocks there at AOP, and he helped it night and day just doing that. Mm-hmm. So I put my faith in him, and then I got a hold of Stan. He made me up a sway bar, and we put that on, and I'm not kidding. That's the very first thing I should have did when I bought the car. It's a whole new animal.
So, man, and what's so crazy is you were mentioning the wishbone. It's the wishbone upper arms, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it actually looks like a Y. So instead of being 4-link, it's a 3-link front and rear. And the wishbones connect to the center of the axles at the top.
There we see here. I'm trying to pull a picture up here. It's like I do a bad job at multitasking. Everyone who listens to the show is pretty familiar with the fact that I can't multitask worth of crap. However, I'll deal with that later. See if I can't find something in a minute. The look of the car is pretty amazing because in the front end, the nose extends out. It almost looks like there's not enough room for up travel. So how much room do you actually have in the front in this movement of the suspension?
It's packaged really well. When they originally built that car, well, I guess this is about the 4th rendition, but I mean they did a jam up job on it. It has 7.5 inches of up travel right now, and when it's all the way up, it's like within a 1/4 inch of everything.
Wow.
I mean, it's as tight can get.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Let me ask you this. So you get a front sway bar in there and you loosen up the rear. How does it, what did it drive like before, if you could relate it to anything, and then what does it drive like now?
Okay, so it drives similar. It's just before, like, it drives kind of like a go-kart.
Okay.
But similar to a go-kart, if you pick a go-kart up, once it starts to roll, it's gone.
Yeah.
Well, now I did it at the race last weekend, and I did it at Larry's playing around. I can actually put it up on 2 wheels now and put it back down. Where before, if it picked up one tire, it would just literally flip itself. So
that's pretty
made a
interesting.
huge difference there.
Now, how did obviously you put her on a Jenny Craig diet and moved some things around. How did the weight affect everything? Because you guys had jumps in this last race, and we're going to talk pretty extensively about that. But you guys had jumps. How did the car move? Oh, I may have lost Anthony. Anthony, you still there? There we go. You're back. How did the car move?
Yeah, I was getting a call.
That's all right. How'd the car move now that the weight is redistributed? Because you've got it almost 50-50 front and rear, right?
Yeah, so before the rear end held the fuel tank, which was like a 22, 23-gallon fuel tank. It was all the way at the back, down low. So there's a bunch of cantilever back there for weight. We cut all that off. So originally it was 56% over the rear tires and 44 over the front is the way it's set. By cutting all that off, moving the fuel tank to the front, we actually left the front winch just for weight. We don't need it now, but we left it just to have the weight as far forward as possible. Right now it's like 50.2 over the front tires. So we moved about 6% forward, which
that's crazy.
Made quite a bit of difference on a hill.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty shocked that right out of the gate it was as balanced as it was. It seems like that front end would be so much lighter than the rear end. Just looking at it, it looks like there's not much up there other than the front axle and the shocks. But it's pretty amazing that not only was it already balanced how it was, but you guys have it within 0.2 to 0.2%. That's pretty unheard of.
Yeah, it's kind of lucky. It's just how it worked out. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
If we were building a drift car, it would be awesome because 50-50 is what you shoot for. So,
yeah.
But most of your rock bouncers they're kind of the opposite. They're like 55 to 54 up front, where this one was 56 in the back. So it was kind of opposite. But we met in the middle, and I don't know, for like courses like this weekend, I think it's going to do awesome.
Yeah, so let's talk about it because that was one of the most important things I wanted to talk to you about is not only your comeback, but the Southern Rock Racing Series went to Bikini Bottoms Off-Road Park. In my opinion, it's a park that's kind of played out, if that sounds not too rude. But they've run the same hills. They've done the same thing over and over again. But when I watched the live feed this weekend, I really felt like I and the fans had been heard. Where not only, I heard down the rabbit chain that they're going to make jumps at every race now. That's great. But they cut out part of the hill and had y'all do it up and down, like on a horseshoe on the side of the hill, had y'all run through a couple different sections, multiple jumps. I personally thought it was really, really cool how they used the space there. How do you feel about it having raced it?
Well, so first off, I wasn't really planning on going. I was kind of getting heckled a little bit. So I kind of ended up going last minute. Like Friday, 9:30, I loaded up and took bare minimum and went down there, which Larry Krogh has a little compound, we call it. And not very far from here. I've had about 20 minutes of seat time since we completely changed everything.
Perfect.
And it's never been off a jump. And I didn't realize we were going to a monster truck show.
Oh, yeah.
So, when I pulled up, they were running the UTVs and the starting line's a jump. And then after that's another jump. I was freaking out a little bit. It's never been off the ground. It's been up some hills and through a creek or two, but I've never jumped it. So the first thing I did before I even started the race was I moved the crossovers down on the front to just try to keep it from bottoming out, just guessing, because I didn't know what it was going to do. And I probably should have left it because it's actually a little stiff in the front now. I don't know if you noticed coming off them jumps, it was pretty hard.
Yeah, I did notice that.
The first two, but the comeback jump, it hit pretty hard. It didn't bottom out. It just shook hard. So
I think everyone had that kind of feel, though. I will say I went back and I watched that one particular jump. Obviously, Tim's car is a completely different setup, and it looked pretty good. Even Wes's car looked really well, or took the jump well. But I think everyone is kind of taken off in how they have their suspension set up by all these jumps. But yeah, I definitely agree with you. I mean, I would say that it seems like we're starting to have to build, the racers are having to build cars somewhere in between, able to handle the jumps well and still have the hill climb, stiffness that they're normally used to up front.
Yeah. I mean, from a racer's point of view, I like it, but we've done a lot of endurance racing. I talked
Yeah.
to Derek about it too. Derek's like, man, that was my kind of course. I wish I would have went.
Yeah.
But we're used to that. We're used to everything with endurance racing. We're used to doing short course tracks. The bouncer guys, they're not real excited about the jumps. Like a lot of them,
Really?
majority of them, because that's not what their cars are set up to do. They want to go kill a hill. They don't want to. They don't want to be a stadium truck, or they'd build a stadium truck. You know what?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's mixed opinions on it.
Yeah. Well, so let me ask you, okay, with your background in Ultra 4 endurance, is that the kind of course that you would prefer to see throughout the season? Or, do you want more a more hill dominant? Or what are your thoughts going forward? Or do you want to mix it up? What do you think? I want the No Respect Racing take on what this season's courses need to be like.
Oh, I like the longer courses because for a couple reasons. If you make a slight mistake, you've got room to make up for it. Like the 13-second hills, most of these parks are, for most of us guys in Missouri, most of these parks are 9-hour drives. Nobody wants to drive 9 hours to race for 14 seconds.
Dude, I hardly want to drive 9 hours, period.
But I like the longer courses though.
Yeah.
And then I also like a bounty hill. So I'm kind of torn. I would like to see like a 2-minute course with a bounty hill at the end. And to me, a bounty hill is like 3 people in the field make it, but that doesn't make for good points racing.
That's true. But how do you think that, so Bikini Bottoms has been, every racer I've ever interviewed, it's their least favorite place to go because it's hard on parts. It's hard on everything. Obviously we saw a little bit of parts breakage, flips, rolls, all that kind of stuff. But I think most of the rolls came from the endurance side of the course rather than, the hill. But even that last section where it's a pretty, rough hill climb and it's a really sharp left-hand turn. Do you think that that's a good balance, or did that course favor the long distance over the hill climbs?
I don't know. I mean, the same exact hill 2 years ago was an extreme hill.
Yeah.
Everything's kind of upgraded. So most vehicles make them hills look pretty easy now. To me, that's not I don't like that part. That part's dangerous. That's why I don't like it. There's just nothing to stop you from the top to the bottom, which we got to see again. And I've been talking to Daniel, and he's doing a lot better. But the 2 worst wrecks I've ever seen in off-road are from that part. Daniel's and the Formula car.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't like racing wide open areas like that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would say probably the worst UTV wreck I've ever seen was at Rush. Was it Rush? I think it was last year when the 16-year-old girl was in the shake and bake car and took it all the way back down the hill. That was bad, but it's the exact same situation that you're describing here, where you have, essentially either nothing to catch you as you're rolling down, and at the bottom, it's just the ground. It's just flat ground that, you're going to have a large impact on. But I did want to ask you about Daniel. I think the final, diagnosis was his arm was broken in 3 places. Is that correct?
Yeah. I talked to him today. He's obviously sore. I asked him, just from previous reference, I said, how many black lines you got going across you? Because typically you take a hit like that, wherever every strap is solid black. And he said, yeah. He said, looks like I got a harness on still. But he's in good spirits, and he'll be back.
Okay. Sure. Now, I don't know. Do they think that surgery is in order, or did he have surgery?
Yeah, they got his arm all fixed up. He's just kind of in recovery mode. So
okay, well, good.
Checked everything out. CT scan. He's good to go.
Good.
Take some time off, heal up. He'll be back.
Good. Okay, cool. Well, back to the race. What do you? Obviously, you mentioned earlier you weren't prepared necessarily for it, but that jump right out of the gate. How do you? I can't get over this course because I really feel like what we have seen and for the last 5 years in every single race, this one broke it. There's been a couple outlaw races where they ran side by side, but this was for me like a really big, I'm very largely impressed that if they keep this up, this is, it essentially changes what the Southern rock racing is going to be known for. It's not going to be just drag racing up a hill. It's going to be, you have to come with your car ready to do multiple things and do multiple things extremely well.
Yeah. So I mean, I enjoy the change. Same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing over and over gets old.
Yeah.
Nobody likes it. So you got to switch it up. And I think Clyde did a good job. Nobody really went, what I'm gonna say, balls out off of that starting line jump, except for Paul Wolf. And if you get to watch that grudge match race, you can watch the replay of that.
Yeah.
Wow, he said it. But I mean, it was a jump right into another jump, so you couldn't really flat-foot it off the line because you had to slow down for the second jump. A couple people overshot it and ended up front flipping too. So, I mean, that comes back to just driving on everything, having a little bit of experience. It helped, but my first run sucked. I mean, it was bad.
So what happened the first run? Because I saw you said that, and then I went back and watched the first runs on High Octane. I think it was last night, and it looked fine. I think at the very top you bottomed out or something, but I didn't think the run was particularly bad.
Oh, I don't know. I just going up Cable or Fable or whatever that man-made piece of crap. I'm not a fan of the man-made stuff. But going up that, I lost my momentum a little bit. Had to back up. I don't like backing up. Backing up never wins anything. And then I thought I'd be smart and go left up the big hill at the top. I'd get out there where nobody else had been, and it would, because there was grass still there. Typically that means there's good traction, and it didn't work. It was a sandbox over there, and about halfway through the corner, I knew it wasn't going to work, but I was already committed to that line. So we tried it anyway, and then no go. And I don't have quite the horsepower. I mean, this was built to run long distance, not really be the highest horsepower car. So we might do some upgrades to that over the winter.
So let me ask
you how that goes.
On that.
Now I had to back up again, so that's 2 backups in one run. It's not good. But anyway, we made it out the top. So.
Yeah, I was about to say, all in all, you make it out the top. You don't, have a DNF or anything like that, so that's great. But let me ask you this: horsepower. Gold Rush basically came in and made everyone pay attention to horsepower. That's how I feel about it. Everyone had.
I might get a strap in that thing here soon.
Explain. Tell me more.
Oh, we were just kind of talking to each other after the race, and I think I might get a potential to strap into that at some point this year.
Now, is this like hey, we're going to go, off the record, go drive it, or we're going to be at a race and we're going to give it a chance?
I don't know. Haven't figured that out yet.
Very nice. I'm excited for that because I'll be honest, Gold Rush is one that I keep my eyes on particularly because it is a forefront leader into a new direction of the rock bouncer, just the insane amounts of horsepower. And again, I hope no ill will or anything like that, but I'm just going off of the record here. It seems like there's just issue after issue. And I know that it's a learning process, and especially being a car that is set up to run the way that car is. How long does it take to get the issues figured out? Because I think he said he had an issue this weekend, but still managed to pull off a top 5. I personally want to see Gold Rush, no issues. And just what can the car do, and what can the driver do? What can they do? And I personally, I'm ready to see it. Its full potential, no issues, no accidents or anything like that. What are your thoughts on that?
I kind of screwed him this weekend.
What'd you do?
We actually tied in points for both hills. Yeah, he would have been on the podium if I didn't show up. He would have had her.
Oh.
We tied in points, and I guess SRS, you get so many points per hill. It's not time. You get so many points, and then if there's a tie in the points, then it goes to the combined time. Well, I don't even know the times yet. I haven't seen them posted anywhere, but I guess I had a faster combined time than he did overall. So I ended up getting 3rd, and he got 4th.
Well, that's the business, but I don't know. It's weird you guys haven't got your times yet. I know that they try and verify everything, but you would imagine for the it's not like endurance racing where you have to go track like VPs or things like that. It seems like it would be pretty straightforward. I'd be interested to know why you guys haven't got your times yet.
I haven't done a bunch of digging on it. It doesn't really matter, but
yeah, exactly.
I just haven't seen it come across.
That's true. Okay, so back to the car though. You obviously changed up the theme, the colors. Everything's a little bit different there. What is it the Hill Patrol? Is that the name of it?
Yeah, so we kind of took the Missouri State logo. My wife does graphic design work and decals and banners and everything. We kind of borrowed their logo and redesigned it a little bit. And it's the Missouri Ultra Hill Patrol, which might not be a good time to be endorsing law enforcement, I guess.
Hey, if it makes you feel any better, I work exclusively with law enforcement and the Department of Justice, so I'm right there with you. But yeah, I think it's a really cool idea. I think it's a direction that I haven't seen anyone go. I know that there was I don't remember who made the video. Maybe it was Mad Ram, but there's that classic video of a rock bouncer doing a burnout in front of a police car on the street, and I think it's really cool. But what was the coolest thing is saw you going up the hill, saw the red and blue lights on the rear. And then I was like, man, I wonder if he, like how much is he embracing the police aspect? As soon as you made it to the top, kicked on the sirens. And I was like, that is absolutely awesome. I thought it was just really, really cool.
Again, the siren was on there from endurance racing.
Yeah.
And it's actually a pretty heavy speaker, and it's right behind the winch. So we left it for weight. And we decided on white for the color. And it just kind of built up from there. Like, just a theme, Taz. Yeah. Everybody loves Taz because it's Taz. And
yeah.
Like monster trucks they got their own theme. So it's about time our sport starts getting a little more professional, I think.
Yeah.
So we just pick like a theme and stick with it. And I feel the kids would like it, lights, sirens. What kid doesn't like that?
Man, in fact, I need to. I forwarded your information over to Infinite Off Road. I'm gonna get you hooked up with some rock lights so you can get that bad boy really going, some red and blues. But yeah, I think it's really, really cool. And if anything, what it does, and for those racers who listen to this, it puts kind of like a brand association. Like now, when you think of your car, you're going to think of, oh, that's the car that's the police car, that's the police buggy, and it's really easy for people to kind of lock something in with you and your race team. It's a great way to promote yourself, great way to market yourself. And I have racers and other people asking all the time, can you do more episodes on how to get sponsors and things like that? So that's something else I wanted to bring up is as you create the Hill Patrol. Obviously, you're someone who has a reputation in racing that precedes themselves. So your accomplishments in racing are what make you a good prospect for a sponsor. But what are some other things that people can do to acquire either sponsorship or how do people get eyes on them? What do you do to attract eyes and make people interested in you?
So like for instance, like this, I don't know, about 15 times this week, and you drive the Jeep thing, right? So, I mean, it's totally different from a rock bouncer. So it stands out. And sponsors don't necessarily need people to win. They don't need people to podium. Like if you're the guy that, like, I won't say any names because that's rude. If you're the guy that just does a write-up after every event and, says, hey, this is what went right. This is why we didn't do so good.
Mm-hmm.
And promote the parts that work. That's just as good as winning for most of the time.
Yeah.
Buy the pictures from the media guys, like from Black Dog and D-Pads. Buy them pictures and send them to companies. Get on an email list, whether you do good or you do bad, and you got contacts at 15 companies, whether they sponsor you or not, email them at the end of the race and say, this is how our day went. This is what worked. This is what didn't work. This is what we're going to try to do next time.
I love it.
They might not be your sponsors, but when they get tired of seeing your name, eventually they're going to help you out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely one strategy. And if not, even when, the next marketing meeting comes up at their company, they'll have in the back of your mind, there's this guy that keeps sending me pictures and, he's got a lot of room on that car and he's always there. One thing that I have people reach out all the time about, hey, how do I grow my page? How do I grow my business? Whatever it may be. Consistency. It's consistency. You're always.
Your page is bigger than mine, and I got all kinds of dumb stuff.
well, that's just it. It's consistencies. People ask all the time. I have friends who are interested in starting podcasts or getting whatever kind of movement going that they like. Just do an episode every week, so people know on Friday. My example: Friday and Saturday mornings, you're going to get an episode, and just be there, and just know that when people start listening and it becomes part of the routine. They can expect, because if don't put something out and it's Saturday morning and they haven't got an episode yet, you're probably going to get some messages that say, hey, where's your episode? And then if you don't make an episode for 2 or 3 weeks, people are going to stop listening. You're going to just get passed by. So that's great. But how that applies here is you are so involved in the off-road community, whether it's giving opinions, which is always one of my most favorite things from the No Respect camp, especially at King of Hammers, man. You and Larry were going back and forth, and I was cracking up every single time. But opinions are always good, but pictures, content, reviews, all that kind of stuff. But even so on that, you're always racing. You're always at the race, regardless of podium, not podium. I know where you're at on the race. I know how you did. And I probably have some kind of video of you either winning or you upside down on your lid or putting on some kind of show. And I really think that consistently being a part of the community is a big factor. And you guys have done an excellent job of that. But that all ties in with this whole brand thing, with the police thing, with everything. I really, No Respect Racing has its own, there's mental images that come in. I see your green UTV buggy flying through the banner. I think all of these things that you guys have done over the years, and it's how you built a brand. It's how you have made your name. And again, that's information that people have asked for time and time again. So I'm glad that we can kind of address that and get that information out there. But I want to ask.
Shannon Welch, I don't know if you know who she is. She's the major player in Ultra 4. She helped me out a lot with that because I would never do the bad stuff. Nobody wants to talk about the bad day they had. And, man, it makes a big difference. It truly does. Because nobody's perfect. I mean, even Timmy's not perfect. But if you let everybody know that you have problems too, or this happened or that happened, that actually brings them closer to you and lets them follow you more. And she helped me out with that. So.
I'll tell you this. One of the things that, just shortly before, I think you guys were racing, it was your Ultra 4 season when we had just met at AOP and you guys were somewhere else. And you just were put up a picture of 10 guys in a trailer rebuilding the Razor transmission. And you're just like, this is what it looks like the night before the race. And I was like, first off, that looks awful. Glad that's not me. Two, that's really cool because, it's kind of a window into the dedication that it takes. But it's things like that make people relatable. I think McCoy and John Boy do a great job of that too, because they put a picture up the other day, night before a race, and it's not on their vehicle, but they're out helping a neighbor and they've got the headers off, night before a race at the camp. And it's just like, you guys are crazy. And it really kind of pulls back the facade of like the professional race team, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that people don't see and don't know. And it just helps. I'm not real good at it. I'm just every once in a while I'll put something up. And like the police theme, I catch a lot of crap from my buddies about it. But
yeah,
it ain't for them. It ain't for me. It's for trying to get the kids involved. So
yeah, and that is so cool. I know when I spoke with Jay Calloway, he mentioned that was one of his big kind of bridging things that he used, is he would take the car to schools and things like that. And one of the things that really cool that you did was you actually took the buggy to the police station. Tell me a little bit about that. What did they think about it?
Well, that's kind of funny is I was asking them what it took to get a photo op with the cops. And I've known the local sheriff for quite a while. He made a pretty good joke about it. But then when I told him what I was doing, he was cool about it. But they were excited about it. The local sheriffs, they let me pull right on the lawn. We took pictures with their cop cars. It was a good time.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I gotta say, I don't know if I'm in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I don't know if Murfreesboro police would be that cool about it. So it's pretty cool. It definitely, that's one of those that, I have these canvases all around my house of all these, things that are important to me. And that would be on my wall for sure. The time I took my buggy down to the police station and got to drive it on the grass. So all cool stuff. But one thing I really wanted to talk to you about, because you're the only person, I think, other than Timmy Chuck, who is running those Mickey Thompson tires. And Timmy's not racing this year. Tell me about the tires. Liberty. Thank you.
Liberty.
Thank you.
And there's a couple others. That's the ones that popped into my head.
Yeah.
Which I just met Dex.
Really?
That was his first race ever in a full size. He finished both hills and got 5th or 6th. That's amazing.
Wow. That's pretty unheard of. That's awesome. What do you think about the tires? Because not a lot of people run them. It seems like they've been out for a while and then they kind of fell flat a little bit on their marketing and everything. But obviously, what do you think?
Well, these are different. So
okay.
I was actually at SEMA and I met one of the main guys at Mickey when they came out with the big 43. And it was just a little wide for my liking. And we talked about it, and he's like, "Oh, eventually there'll be more sizes and whatever." Well, I had Showstopper 2 at the time, and I was like, I just didn't want that wide of a tire. And then we ended up switching to Ultra 4, and then just here recently, I found out these 40s were coming out, and I got back in contact with them, and I'm like, man, that's the tire I want. I want a 40, and I want a 1350 wide, and we worked out a deal, and I can't complain. I mean, I got 15 minutes of seat time in them, and I came home with no holes. I've put quite a few holes in swampers at that place, and I know a lot of swampers have been destroyed there. So I came home, no holes in the tires, and wasn't real easy on them on the concrete. I had to get rough with them a little bit, especially Fable Hill and going up that top part there on Hill 2. And I'm pretty happy. We got a podium out of them, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's exactly what you can't argue about. Is just the fact that they worked. They put you on the podium. But I think particularly with that design, it kind of skips the Tennessee cut, and it really gives you the cut that everyone uses right out of the gate. Now, I've never had my hands on them, but how soft are they compared to the SX?
Oh, I would say they're actually a little softer per se. What I like about them is your Tennessee cut has very little lateral traction.
Yes.
So you can get to skating on a hill. Like a lot of them rock bouncers you see that are just going all over the place. That's because they don't have any lateral traction left because they cut it all out. Every lug on this is angled, so it's got real good lateral traction. I really like that about it. It's more predictable on what like going through a corner and stuff to me. And I don't have a lot of time, but so far so good.
Yeah. Well, again, even when you sent me some pictures a little earlier before this all got released, the first thing you said is, man, this thing drives awesome. It goes where I want it to. And I know that's not always the case in the bouncers. Is sometimes they don't go where you want to. And I hadn't even thought about the lateral traction. When you do that Tennessee cut, you lose all the directional, the side directional or angles. You just get, side to side blocks, and all of the terrain can move freely through the tread. So I haven't thought about that. But one thing I want to ask.
Well, these are actually pre-marked with places you can cut them more if you want to cut them. They're diagonally marked with like their preferred cutting spot.
Wow. You have to send me a picture whenever the audio version of this goes up. Yeah, if you can take me over there.
I don't know how close I can get to you here.
Holy cow.
See the diagonal there? That's to come out. That's to come out. That's
pretty amazing.
Out. But I mean, see, you still got lateral traction even after you cut them out.
Yeah.
There's a lug. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know if you can tell that from that angle or not.
I mean, it's got some meat in there. That's pretty amazing.
I'm pretty happy with them so far. I can't complain.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. For those who haven't seen a good 40 or a good, a lot of guys, Jeep guys, or people who have a more mild idea, they'll have like a 40-inch Nitto, and they'll think, oh, that it's just a bigger tire. But when you get into a tire that's designed like that one or a Super Swamper, man, they are big, and they're like tread blocks are big, and everything about them is just wild. So it's crazy to me, when you guys go race and y'all cut the sidewalls and blow through the front of one of them and blow wheels out. It really puts into perspective how much just velocity and power and rotation you guys have in those. But again, I'm such a big fan of the sport. Everything about this sport blows my mind pretty much constantly. But one thing I have to say is you got a spare tire back there. How did you get that on there?
So that was actually my boy's idea. We cut the back end of the car off to get rid of weight, and we just happened to have an old receiver, actually a receiver, if you want to call it that.
Yes.
Like the part you would shove your truck receiver. It was laying in the garage, and he's like, well, why don't we put that on the car? And I'm like, what for? And he's like, for a spare tire holder. And I'm like, all right. So explain. He's like, well, so we drive to the hill. Sometimes the hills ain't right next to where we can park. You get a flat, you got to send somebody back with a razor. You got to take the spare down there with you on your roof. Or I've seen it done 100 different ways, and they all suck.
So yeah, you say put that thing on the razor. If you told me, if you're like, hey, will you go get that spare tire out of my truck? I'm like, yeah, I need 2 other people and one other person just to hold it on there. That's so big compared to a razor.
Yeah. So anyway, we just built a slider that goes in there, and a plate to screw a wheel on, and then I ran a tube down, and I actually built a little jack holder to where you can set your jack in there, and you jack your jack up, and it tightens up against the tire. And you take a tire, jack, everything, and then pull
Cool.
2 pins when you get to the hill and set it off to the side.
Wow.
So everything's right there on the ready.
Wow, that's really cool. So you also mentioned that you moved the gas tank from the back to the front. You got your spare tire back there, and you guys did a little bit of modification. Did you do any other chassis modification that's really noteworthy?
Not really. So the sway bar used to be at the very back, so we moved it forward. So we actually, instead of turning the sway bar down, we just located the tabs further up on the trailing arm, which in turn made the sway bar softer, which is what we were after. I got to do some tweaking on it and playing with it still. Like I said, we just threw it together, and we wasn't really race ready. We just kind of got heckled into it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I get it. It's kind of crazy. It's crazy to me because, as we kind of talked about at the beginning of the show, our last discussion was 2021. And then the next thing I know, I'm starting to get these pictures rolling in, and you were saying, maybe June, maybe middle of June. And I was like, all right, cool. I got some time to schedule the interview. And then the next thing I know, I'm watching the live stream, and there you are, just going straight out of the gate, making the jump. And I was like, huh, would you look at that? So I was surprised.
Got pressured into it a little bit.
Oh, well. I get it. Hey, you could have had a worse result for sure. At least you came away with some hardware. What do you think about the rest of the season? Obviously, you said mid-June. You started now. What's in the future for you, and what are your expectations for the car and the races and so on and so forth?
Well, I would really like to get some seat time. I would have had plenty of seat time, but it's been raining up here nonstop.
Yeah.
And the ultimate goal was go to Flat Nasty Outlaw race June 27th.
Okay.
Flat Nasty's the closest park to us up here, but it's still 3.5 hours away. But I don't know. Our little county up here, when we go to Flat Nasty, we always tend to do well. So that was supposed to be the debut. I was supposed to save it till then. And hopefully have some more seat time and have some stuff dialed in. But it didn't work out. We ended up just going last weekend. So the next race will definitely be June 27th at Flat Nasty. And I don't really have much other than that on my schedule. Still plan on doing a bunch more hunting. And hunting season will start picking up around August. So
yeah, that's true. So obviously Ultra 4 is always out there. Is this going to be an Ultra 4 car this year?
Nope. She done. She's retired from Ultra 4.
That's all right. I know it's Ultra 4 is hard to maintain. I'll just say it like that. A lot of traveling, a lot of different things in the fire. So I understand that. Do you plan on hitting like Race to Riches? Any of those in your mind for the future this year?
Yeah. Well, this car did okay at Race to Riches the way it was before with bald tires. So
yeah,
I'd say she'll probably be back at Race to Riches.
Very nice. Let me ask you this, because I got to talking to a racer the other day, and let me think about how to say this the best way possible. Race to Riches, the payouts used to be Polaris razors and vehicles and lots of money. What was the payout last year?
I think it was 15,000 the first, 7,000 the second, and I don't know what third got.
Okay, that's still pretty good. That's good. That's better than I thought it was. I know that Race to Riches used to be the kind of the big daddy. This is the race that you don't want to miss because the risk is finally worth, or the reward is finally worth the risk. What do you think? Is $15,000 enough for you to go and put everything on the line?
Oh yeah, we do it for $3,000 at every other race.
That's true. That's very true. Do you think that payouts need to be higher, knowing that promoters, are pocketing a pretty large amount of money?
That's a loaded question.
It is a loaded question. It's a trap.
I mean, it depends on the series, I guess.
Sure.
Because I'll just use Outlaw as an example. Outlaw to me is the most fair. For your entry fee compared to paying the whole top 10 back and what they pay back in the top 10, to me, the Outlaw series, as far as money wise, is the most fair.
Yeah. And I know we had a short discussion about it the last time. So for those who want a longer talk about things like that. We talked about Ultra 4 in the last interview. Just go find the last Anthony Yount interview, and you'll hear a little bit more about that topic. But I didn't know that. I think the UTV got cut a little bit more than the bouncers. I'll say it like that. I think at one point it was machines were on the line and things like that. And I'm picking on Race to Riches, but I will say that it's an all series and in all races. To me, the risks are getting higher because the vehicles are more capable and the rewards are not necessarily matching the risk. And I'm curious now. It's a question I want to start asking all the racers, because at what point is your return on investment not even worth showing up? The guy who's not going to get top 10.
Did you say ROI about racing? There's no such thing.
I did. Hey, I'm like, there's a percentage here, but I'm trying to just ask the question is, the guys who know they're not, there are racers who show up and don't think that they're going to get in the top 10. Outside of, at one point or another, it's just not lucrative. Does the potential for payout need to be higher? What are your thoughts? Because I'm starting to see the numbers, and I'm seeing, let me phrase it like this. Let me give you some background. I had an interview with Ian Johnson where he kind of reminded me that, we buy $25,000 cars, put another $25,000 in upgrades in them, go smash them. And, just in the same token, if you're interested in mildly getting a trail bouncer, you can get a trail bouncer for under 50,000 that you could potentially go race and this and that. And I started thinking about the UTV side, about how expensive it is versus to the payouts and things like that. And I don't have a clear answer because I'm not a racer. I'm not out there, losing $10,000 every time I go total a machine. But from someone who's not afraid to wreckers or checkers, I just kind of want to pick the brain of the racers and see what you guys think about payouts and things like that.
Well, there's a meeting of the masses going on this weekend, which might change things up for next year, or it might not. Sure, just looking at every other sport that's out there, like monster trucks or fishing, or there's always some kind of league. Baseball, football. There's no true league yet in rock bouncing.
I like it. I like what I'm hearing, because I think when you bring everybody together, you create some kind of standard. And I think that in this case, it kind of goes to, you can make whatever simile you want to make here. I think a league mindset will help the racers in this instance. So I think that's cool. Can you give us any more details about it? Because it's first I'm hearing about it.
Nah, that's about it for now. It may go nowhere. I'm not heavily involved with it.
Sure,
I will be if it happens, for sure, because I think that's how you maintain growth.
Yeah.
Like if everybody's on a different page and they just do whatever one person or two people tell them, then everybody's sheep,
Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree. And I'll say it like this. I think that this season may, the virus going in, and now we have a cluster battle of, scheduling to recover the season and things like that, because obviously there's upfront capital for some of this stuff. And just like promoters, they're trying to get their money. Promoters are trying to get their money back, but racers have investments in machines and things like that, and it's costly when there's not a race season. So I'm just, again, all of these are just thoughts that I'm wondering about what you guys think.
Okay, well, speaking of everything on top of each other, I'm digging into the potential of possibly putting on a race, and August 29th is the only open weekend. Everything else is taken from now to October. It's crazy.
Between
SRS, Outlaw, Pro Rock, and Renegades.
Oh,
there's racing every single weekend until October.
That's crazy. Well, can you tell us a little bit about that No Respect race that you're trying to get planned?
Oh, it won't be a No Respect race. I'm just helping out potentially, and I was hoping to have an answer by now, but I haven't got an answer on that yet. So stay tuned.
Okay.
Stay tuned to the pages. There'll be something up if it pans out.
Very cool. Very cool. And you actually reminded me, I need to have how do you ARBO bracket buster? What's the gentleman's name? I'm drawing a blank. Nick. Thank you, Nick. I need to get Nick on the show sometime, because I need to get Nick, and I need to reach to Clyde, and even I believe is it Rick who runs the Renegade series?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I need to get everybody on because it's kind of I'm kind of where I just want to hear what everyone's thoughts are because Joey's been on the show before and we had a great time talking, and I'd love to give everybody else a chance to kind of talk and air their thoughts out between the different races. But hearing that there might be a league style idea is really cool. I didn't think we'd see the day.
Any of them guys you mentioned, I don't think they know about that.
Wow.
And it might not ever pan out. It's just something that a few of us believe probably needs to happen if the sport's going to keep growing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Let me ask you this: where do you think the future of rock bouncing goes? I mean, we're starting to see more live streams. High Octane Films might be the fastest person I've ever seen put up videos for this stuff. It is literally like the race, and then I can count on it 6-7 hours later. At least the top 3 runs are up, and I think that's awesome.
Charles is the man. Charles, he definitely puts in a lot of work for sure.
Yeah.
And high quality work. I mean, it's truly impressive how fast. But I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a loaded question too. If we could do it in cities every time, I think it would be the next Monster Jam. But it's hard to do what we do in St. Louis.
Yeah.
You can't duplicate the hill downtown St. Louis. It's just
that's true. Yeah, I hadn't thought about it, about how you could generate a stadium-like feel for it. That's interesting. But I like where the conversation's going. I'm glad that people smarter than me are having the conversation because I'm just going to be able to report on it and take all the fruit of your hard work and labor, and I will be able to enjoy it for myself. So thank you guys.
Well, it's like I just mentioned. There's a race every weekend. I mean, it's out of control. There's too many series, too many different rules for this, different rules for that, different way they do points, different way they do times. I mean, it's just we need a standard.
Yeah, I very much agree with that. I think that that's a really wise decision. And if any racers go back and listen to this, jump on board. Find reach out to Anthony, get the information. Whoever is doing this, you need to support it because it helps you more than it helps literally anyone else. So it's very, very exciting, to say the least. But what else are you going to do in terms of, with the car? What's the future for the car?
So I don't really know. I just know I couldn't sell it.
Yeah.
And I know I love rock bouncing.
Yeah.
And this was I actually talked to 4 or 5 people, and we might not be able to make the best rock bouncer out of it, but we can make a pretty decent one out of it. So that's what we kind of went with. Maybe this winter I'll tear it down and build a new one. I don't know. I just we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think that there's any more upgrades? I mean, you mentioned horsepower earlier, but is there anything else that's glaringly, staring you in the face that you'd like to change?
I've got 35 spline inner axles in the front, and staying over at Brannick's working on my 40s right now.
Very nice.
So I was a little leery of them staying together. John Campbell had a smoking run going, and he ended up breaking a 35 spline axle. We're just overpowering for a 35, and I was hoping mine held together, and they did. If John's wouldn't have broke, he would have probably got second. I mean, He was on the mission.
Yeah. What do you think about Bobby this weekend? Going wild, man, pulling monster truck moves out. I hadn't seen anything like that in rock bouncing in a long time.
Bobby kind of saved me, maybe. So late entries, the way they run late entries in SRS is whoever drew number 1 gets to pick whether they go before him or they go at the back. And me and Bobby were kind of joking, and he's like, I'm going to let you go first so you can show me the line. And I'm like, Bobby, you're the guy. You show me the line. He ended up putting us at the back of the pack, which probably saved me. So I got to watch some other people I got to watch everybody run.
Yeah.
Where I had to run. But, he's wild, man. You can count on him for a show every time.
Dude, he broke both axle housings, everything. That's you're saying there's a race every weekend. Bobby is normally at, many of these races. That's not only an expensive bill, but that's a lot of time you got to put in between this weekend and next weekend.
Yep.
Is there any races that you're going to be in attendance at that you may not be racing at, or is there, you said the schedule's kind of open, But are you going to be there? You're not going to race? You're going to race every time you can? How's that look for you?
I'm not a good spectator.
No, you are not.
Typically, I mean, I've been to a few races without a car.
Yeah.
But I end up on the hill or I end up somewhere, or I just can't spectate. It drives me nuts.
Yeah,
So
I get it.
I either got to be involved or racing. So I would say if we're at a race, we'll be racing.
Cool. Let's talk about. Well, go ahead.
June 27th, Outlaw race, Flat Nasty for sure. And I believe there's a July 23rd, I think it is, for Pro Rock at Mid America.
Yes.
For sure. And Race to Riches for sure. Other than that, nothing. Nothing wrote down.
What do you think about Mid America? It seems to be the staple for the central area. It's apparently, from what I'm hearing, it's like the best park possible. What are your thoughts?
Yes, I would agree with that.
What makes it so good?
It's more what you would expect of, like, say, like a NASCAR type race. You pull in, it's got marked out campsites, everything's graveled, it's got a pavilion, it's got a pool, it's got free beer, it's got.
Whoa! Hold up! Pause.
I should have started with free beer, probably.
How do they swing free beer?
It's in your entry fee, and it's free beer all weekend. Full size bar, really nice shower house, RV hookups everywhere. I mean, it's amazing place. It really is. And the owner's just the stand up guy.
Yeah.
Like the last race, the Arbo race we went to, there wasn't supposed to be a bounty hill. That was just Jay Storks giving him some crap. And he's like, all right, I got some money. And he whipped it out and he said, we're doing a bounty hill.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
That wasn't in the plan at all.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It's super cool, people. They had a really nice lake. They actually drained the lake down to a smaller lake so they could put a short course around it. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, I watched that. I think it was 2 weekends ago, maybe. The short course race they had there, dude. That's so cool. And also the risk. I mean, if you're bumping shoulders just at the right time, your car's going in the water, man. That is like got my adrenaline. There was a little, I think it's Eagle Eye Productions, a little drone that was hovering over him during the race. Oh, it was awesome, man. That is what I want to see when it comes to these guys who are doing the endurance racing. I'm not saying you have to have a drone, but like parks like Mid America. Dude, that is awesome for the racing. Texplex is the same way.
Yeah, they say there's some pretty good trails there. We didn't go trail riding there because, well, they had free beer, so we never left the camp area.
Yeah, that's dangerous. I'll tell you that. That is just like crazy that they would offer that. I'm in full support, however. But one more thing. Oh man, I'm losing my mind. He started talking about free beer, and I lose all my train of thought here. I can't remember. RS1. Are you going to do any kind of endurance? I don't know if they're doing Titan Series this year, or are you going to do any of those Mid America? Are you going to do any of that in the RS1 before King of Hammers?
I don't know. That depends on the trailer. We sold our old race trailer, and I bought a new one. And before I take it anywhere, it will have a bathroom in it, and that ain't done yet. So,
okay.
And I don't have another trailer big enough to haul to. So Until that trailer's done, it's a solo show at every race. But I would like to potentially take that RS1 to Outlaw next month, just because it'll be more of a really short endurance type course. It'll favor it a little bit. So
yeah, absolutely. I know. I don't remember if it was Flat Nasty that they did the race at earlier this year. I know a couple guys. It looked like it was very similar to the side-by-side bouncer course where they ran two guys at one time, and they looked like they went up the hill and down the hill. That looks so much fun. And all the guys, let me explain something. When I went riding, and I went riding a couple times in the RS1, and I'm planning building an endurance car. Everyone's well aware of that. Everybody I talk to, I can't afford to do endurance, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, man, go race an outlaw race, because that style of endurance, I mean, yeah, you have it all jam-packed into one, but you really don't have to hold your car it's the middle ground between the super long endurance and the bounty. And that sounds like the most fun to me.
Oh, yeah. It'll give you a little bit of a taste of it without making you wish you didn't enter a 4-hour race.
Yes, exactly. Yes, I completely agree. But that being said, and kind of the last thing I want to talk to you about is King of Hammers 2021. You're trying to do it in RS1. You're trying to be the first one to complete it in a single seat. Is that correct?
That's right. That's the plan.
Okay. Obviously, I'm very familiar with the car. What adjustments do you think you need to make? How are you going to get a spare on there? Are you going to carry a spare? What are you going to do?
I don't know. Haven't thought that.
Perfect.
It'll probably have. I guaranteed it'll have motor race tires. Probably 33.
Okay, that's big.
And I don't know. That's probably about it. I'll get with probably George at Double E Racing. He's got a couple RS1s he's working with doing desert races.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got a good idea. I mean, because that's not something you normally see is the RS1 in the desert.
Yeah.
So I think he's about the only one in the country kind of dealing with them right now.
Mm-hmm.
So he should be able to get me pretty close, and he should be on the lake bed. So if we need to tweak some stuff, we can. So really, that's about it. I mean, I'm gonna leave her the way she's tried and true.
Sure.
Put some bigger tires on it and redo the shocks and go see what she's got.
Now, let me ask you this. Would you be opposed to making it 72 inches by putting like a HCR long travel kit on there?
No, I actually, I like the skinnier car out there, to be honest. If I was going to do anything, I would stretch the frame a little bit.
How long?
If I was going to change it, I'd add about 5-6 inches in there.
Would that put it back at a regular XP platform?
It'd be right at an XP platform.
Cool. Yeah, I know. I think one of the coolest things that I've seen is there's a couple of guys who've taken their Turbo S's and added, I think, like 7 or 8 inches in there, kind of putting it right between a 4 and a 2-seater. And those cars, man, that's just not only it looks. I've never been in one. It looks like it handles really well, but it looks like it just performs really well too. I would be very curious to see an extended RS1, how it managed, because I think you're right. That's really what it needs to be able to handle those long climbs.
Well, I mean, really, I think for the rocks, that's the perfect car.
Mm-hmm.
I think I could go out there and really make them guys jealous in the rocks, but the desert, it wouldn't do very well in the desert.
Did you just getting like stomped every single group? Okay, gotcha.
And that's the only reason to go such a big tire is let the tires take some of the hit too.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't necessarily need to run a tall tire out there, even for the rocks. It's just everywhere. It helps. It's like a secondary suspension almost.
Sure.
When you got a bunch of sidewall. So that would be the only reason to run a real tall tire on it. But,
Okay. Well, I like it. With that, I mean, is there anything else you want to talk about? I think we pretty much covered everything I thought about.
No, I think that's it. I mean, just check me out on Instagram or Facebook at No Respect Racing. We've always got something wild and crazy. We just accidentally set a Jeep on fire there a couple weeks ago out trail riding. So
let's talk about that.
We're always doing something that's either good or bad, but either way, we try to put it up and share it with everybody. So
let me ask you about the cheap race. Did you walk away with the win at the cheap car race?
Oh yeah, the 4-cylinder racing. That's right down the road here. Old employer of mine, we kind of got together, and he's got a hay field that he wasn't making very much money off of in hay, and he had an old beater car that they beat around there one night, and then we turned it into, well, what about a couple cars? And we just had one 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
It would be our third race there. We actually like had a race.
Mm-hmm.
21 cars, and they're all 4 cylinders, all 2-wheel drive. Good time.
Yeah, I saw some
entry fee. I mean, the idea is to keep it cheap and fun. So we got like, if the car wins, anybody that entered the race can buy that car for $600, like a claim rule, to try to just keep it cheap, to keep people from spending too much money on their car. But I just bought an old Cavalier 5-speed, and it stayed. The most important part is get it to stay together, because it's pretty crazy. We had 21 people, so one person got a buy, and then we put 20 chips in a hat, half of them red and half of them black, and you randomly draw out of the hat, and your red's the inside lane, black's the outside, and then double elimination. So even if you lose your first race, you're not out. You could fight your way all the way back and win. So once we get down to so many, everybody goes back in the hat, and we draw again until everybody but one person's lost twice. So,
dude, that's amazing. I mean, for the amount of money you have invested, it sounds like way a ton of fun. That's really exciting.
So it got a little wild. We were going to buy a water truck because last year it got real dry and dusty, but it was supposed to rain all week, and it was actually supposed to rain all day the race day. So we didn't buy a water truck. Well, it didn't rain, and the track got pretty dry. There was quite a few bicycles, one on its top, one completely rolled over. Mad Ram's got some pretty good footage. He ought to be. Yeah, he should have probably got it yesterday or the day before.
Nice.
So give him time to edit it, and it'll be up on Mad Ram. But for $350 is what I gave for my car. I mean, a whole day of fun.
Yeah.
That might sound expensive to a lot of people, but compared to the $700 tire back there, it's pretty cheap.
Yeah, that's one thing that I really like. Man, people just don't understand that you go out and I mean, for the full size, it is magnitudes larger. But even UTVs, you go out, you slash 2 tires, you're out $500-600, and if you've been to wheel, it's another $150. It's just crazy how it all pans out. So 350 is really not that much. If you
and
have,
then you can take it to the junkyard when you're done with it.
that's true. That's true. I now see. Now I gotta ask too, because you guys went hill climbing in the cheap Jeeps. Obviously, yours didn't make it out of the woods. What were y'all doing out there? What was the point? I mean, you almost climbed the hill. Like, it was almost there.
So that's down there at the Larry Krog's place, the Krog compound.
Mm-hmm.
And they were actually just doing a ride, and this car was not done yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought this Jeep over the winter. I gave $500 for that Cherokee just to. We had $500 worth of fun in it at the house, just bombing around the racetrack.
Yeah.
So I loaded it up. It had a very slight fuel leak. Whatever. We loaded it up anyway. And it was fine until I tried climbing that hill, and evidently it folded the exhaust under and right underneath the gas tank where it was leaking.
Yeah.
So that was actually a bounty hill, and that Jeep probably shouldn't have been on it, but
agreed.
We've tried it anyway.
Agreed. Yeah, I was worried. I was worried about you. I was worried about you rolling backwards. As soon as I saw it, I said, I know this guy. He's probably got a helmet on, but he probably has nothing else but an over the shoulder seat belt. And I was worried. And then the next thing I know, you're rolling backwards, and you got 15-foot flames coming out the back. Oh gosh, I envy that level of I don't know the right word. I envy that level of confidence.
Well, I'm still not getting in a UTV in the 4400 class.
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, real quick, because then we're gonna wrap things up here in a second. But everyone I've talked to has kind of given me I probably wouldn't do it myself, but it's great that he did it. I am of the school. If you give someone we don't let people shoot themselves. We don't let people shoot themselves. We don't let people go stand.
Nobody ever told me that,
Anthony. We don't let people stand in the middle of traffic. Why would you look, I understand. You can build a chassis. You can have the world's best chassis builder build you a chassis. That 4400 car coming up behind you, either pushing you off a rock face that you don't need to be going off of, or coming up on you at speed, doesn't see you, whatever it may be, that's your life. And that car is not going to just physics. Heavy, not so heavy, smash, heavy wins every time. I don't understand the logic.
Okay, so back to your Intimidator car.
Yes.
Is he allowed in the 4400?
Apparently not. But
I'm saying it's an unlimited class. I mean, if a guy wants to build a cage around a dirt bike and he wants to run it, I ain't got a problem with that. Let him do it.
I guess.
It's not going to be me.
Yeah, I guess, and I agree. But I think at some point, let me ask you this. Why does the Intimidator, it did not qualify for 4400 spec, did it?
Yeah, that's what he raced. He raced it in 4400.
Okay, he did. Okay, I don't know.
It won't qualify for side-by-side.
Okay, that's what it was.
The GM production engine.
Okay, that was my mistake. Okay, for some reason I thought that there was some kind of safety regulation as to why he couldn't race it in the 4400, and I was like, "You guys are insane! What do you mean?"
No, he raced in the 44. He can't race anything else. So.
Okay, that's what I
understand. There's a whole bunch of other rules, but yeah, 4400, all that car is good for. So
yeah, how did he do?
Nobody. I don't know. Here's my theory on it. If Miller would have finished. Well, whoever the last person that crossed the line is, I don't know. If he'd have finished 31st, you'd have never heard as much shit about it as what you're hearing now because he did good. So now everybody wants to complain about it. That's my theory.
I get it.
An unlimited class. He fits the rules. He did awesome. Congratulations.
Yes, I agree with you.
If I would have been racing in the 4400 car out there, it wouldn't have bothered me a bit. If he'd have been in the way, he'd have got treated just like a 4400 car because he entered the 4400 class.
I get it. I mean, to me, that makes sense. And again, from the perspective of a fan, I just don't. I get it, man. You want to prove a
It
point.
doesn't sound. It doesn't sound to me like he was in too many people's way, though.
I I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. We'll close that book and come back to it another time.
Gotcha.
Uh,
The capabilities to me are pretty equal.
yeah, I would agree with that.
That'll ruffle some feathers too. But in all honesty, the capabilities of a fully built side by side, maybe not. There's a few. There's like a top 15 out there that a side by side is never going to touch.
Yeah,
But an older 4400 build like that, a side by side is just as capable, in my opinion.
that's crazy. It's just crazy because of the technology. Let me ask you this, because you sometimes have your hands in these matters to some degree. Polaris and Can-Am, what comes next? I mean, we'll start with Polaris. What do they do next? What do they need to do next? Because obviously the Pro XP was a flop, marketing wise at least. I think it's a great car. I've been in it, love it, does great, amazing. It flopped marketing. Why? What do they need to do?
I don't know. To me, there ought to be like a R. Everything ought to be an R. Here's your race machine and here's everything else. To me, marketing wise, that would make more sense because they're going to sell less race machines. But every car out there's knocking on 30,000 now. That's more than a lot of people's houses.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, it's the same debate that Ian brought up, where he's like, you spend so much money to have a side by side that's very capable, and I think he used his LJ that he's building on this Motor Trend show, and he's got maybe 15 in it, all said and done, buttoned up and ready to go, and he's like, I can climb every trail I need to and have every weekend of fun, and that's what I would say 90%, 95% of UTV owners, that's what they do, and the ticket is vastly different. I realize the experiences are different, but I don't know where the side-by-side market goes, because as of right now, the performance and the technology goes up, but so does the price, where we're seeing, I have an XP 1000. I am destroying that transmission every single time I go ride. And it's just like, okay, my base model is almost junk because I have a junk transmission that I'm going to have to change out, which isn't worth me changing out because I've got to put turbo clutches, turbo trans, and all this. And the next thing I know, I'm already at 25,000, 30,000 for a car that started at 10. And it's just, I don't know what the answer is necessarily.
I don't know. I mean, I think the next step is somehow they've got to beat or get rid of the 999cc rule.
Mm-hmm.
So
now they only do that because of California state law, correct?
Yeah, it's falling off in the ocean anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
You hope, right?
That's a really good race out there once a year, though.
Everybody in California, I thoroughly enjoy that you listen to the show. Thank you. But yeah, I get it, and I don't know. I mean, it just kind of seems silly that you limit the market by just that one regulation. But I get it. I mean, I get it. It all makes sense. But then you talk about Polaris. You talk about the Pro XP. Again, an excellent car. Kind of flopped in the marketing area. You hit the double edge of the other side of the sword, and you have the Can-Am, and it's just lightning fast with a paper thin frame. That's the real knock on it. Is you got to immediately tear the car down, put gussets and everything, and then you have something that I guess is better. But is it better? I mean, is that better? Is that what we want? Do we want something fast like that? Is like, where are we going is my question. What are we building for?
I don't know. Like take the new Kawasaki.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is heavy. It's built right. It's got some really cool clutch setup on it. But it's almost the size of a Jeep Cherokee. Go buy a $500 Jeep Cherokee.
Yeah. And it's so funny because I actually personally have sat in one, got a chance to just piddle it around a parking lot. I think they're awesome machines. And then you go back and you do exactly what you just said. You go, okay, this machine's $20,000. I can go have a Jeep Cherokee that's almost the exact same thing for $500 and get, I get one good weekend out of it. But, just the price and all of these things that just, I don't know. I'm starting to sympathize with those, you get blinders when you buy these machines because you're like, oh, I have to put an extra 10 grand in it. Oh, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. And, oh, it's only 15 grand. Oh, it's not that bad. And the next thing you know, you're like, I've spent 40. And that's outrageous. When you take yourself outside the situation, it's outrageous the amount of money you spend on UTVs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Everybody always asks me like, what would you buy? What would you do this? What would you do that? it depends on what you want to do. I mean,
Yeah.
me, if you want to race right now, unfortunately, Can-Am's where it's at. I mean, if you want to
Yeah.
be a really, really aggressive trail rider, Can-Am's where it's at. If you just want to go have fun, get a Kawasaki that drives amazing or a Honda that's got gears. There's no reason to buy a $30,000 car if you're not going to use what it's meant to do anyway. That's
Agreed.
just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that the car behind me, although it's got a transmission that's going to, blow into a million pieces, it's great. It's great. It's perfect. If there was some way that they could reduce it further and make the entry price lower, maybe that's even better. But again, if you're going to go trail ride, I agree with you. You don't need the $30,000 edition. You need the stock, the XP base model, the turbo base model. If it was me and you got my perspective on it, go get you a base model turbo and be done with it. And that's
I think
all
we've talked about this before too. That's why that's why I'm in love with that RS1.
Yeah, tell me about the RS1.
Well, I mean, we talked about it on the last one, I think, but the platform has all the turbo parts without the turbo horsepower. It's the most reliable car that Polaris ever made.
That's true. It's true.
So,
yeah,
and it's fast enough to win races because it doesn't break. You don't have to put all this extra crap on it to make it last through the race because it's got 200 horse. It's still only got 115 horse, but it's nimble. So, I don't know, in my opinion, it's still a cool little car. And old Gray Hair Racing, Jamie McCoy, if you're listening, I'll make it to one race with it. Just for you.
That's awesome. I know he'll be looking forward to it. But we got a little bit off in the weeds there, which is always good on the show. Always fine with that. Anything else that we didn't hit? Anybody you need to say thanks to? Any sponsors? Anything like that?
I mean, I got a ton of compliments over that motor, which I think the sound just I don't even know how to put it. The sound makes it sound more than what it is.
Sure.
So, Show Me Speed hurried up and built that for me last year because I was in a pinch. I blew a motor up and needed one, and we didn't go for extreme horsepower because it was built to run long distance. So that's got a stock intake, basically stock heads. So there's room for improvement there. Mm-hmm. So I think that might definitely be something that's happening here pretty soon. We'll do some head work to it and put a nice intake. Probably get a little more horsepower out of it. But I'm thinking that we're either going to do that or we're going to change the pistons out and follow suit with everybody else. Put a big old nasty blower on it. So I'll be talking with Show Me Speed here pretty soon about that. We got to figure something out.
That's nice.
I leave for 2 years and I come back and everybody's got 1,000+ horsepower.
Dude, it's crazy. It is crazy.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I mean, hey, again, we talked about Gold Rush. I'm waiting for 1,600 horsepower to let me see the beast. Let me see it unblocked. I don't want to use the word excuse, but no accidents. Let me see what it's got. Let me see where it comes from. Because I don't know. Anyways, sorry I interrupted. You may continue.
No, that's Show Me Speed. I'll be dealing with them here pretty soon, and then Mickey. We're trying this new tire out, and so far so good. I think the next race, Flat Nasty, it's really going to do well at Flat Nasty. Mm-hmm. I think so. I got high hopes for that. Brannick, dude, that sway bar, I'm telling you, is the best thing I've ever done to that car. So I'm super happy about that. I got some axles coming from him too, where I don't have to worry about feathering the gas near as much. Like if it lands on the front end, I don't have to let out. So I'll be extremely happy when that happens. And Ballistic Fab, they've been with me for quite a while. They sent me everything I needed to redo the rear ends, gussets, sway bar links, Heims. I mean, it's a one-stop shop. If you're building something, they got everything.
Cool.
So, and they're always running fantastic sales for every holiday. If it's a holiday, I can guarantee they're having a sale. They really support like Memorial Day and stuff. That's about it for the big car. I mean, we're just playing, just playing.
Absolutely. Well, with that, we'll take it. We'll end it. Anthony, thanks for being on the show. No Respect Racing on the show again. Good luck the rest of the season, and we'll close it out here.
Thanks, sir. And don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Instagram. No Respect Racing. Good.